Welcome back to the Healthy Business Podcast. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Domenic Berardi for coming on to the previous interview. Great storyteller, did a great job. Dr. Berardi, by the way, works in an office that was once owned by North Forest Office Space, which is up next because the rent is due. And I'm curious as to how many of the 670 small business clients that North Forest Office Space has does Dave Merrell, the president at North Forest, think that is going to pay this month. So next up, we're going to have Dave Merrell, president. Just so you know, about 10 years ago, that was my last career job. I was the CFO at North Forest Office Space. And I know from experience that it's a great company that follows their values. They really care about their clients, and you're going to hear that in this next interview with Dave Merrell. And I had a lot of very good memories, a lot of good people. And in fact, not only were there great memories, but a very memorable, in fact, the best jingle about Office Space in the world. And believe me, you never forget it. Check this out.
The path to your office space made simple. North Forest office space.
Professional office space.
Medical office space. Dental office space. The path to your office space made simple. North Forest office space.
Next up, Dave Merrell, president, North Forest Office Space. Okay, I'm here with the president of North Forest Office Space, David Merrell. Dave, thanks for coming. Can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and tell us a little bit more about North Forest Office Space?
Sure, Tony. Thanks. I've been with North Forest for since 2008. I actually joined them back in the last recession. A little bit different type of recession, but a pretty impactful one, of course, back then as well. And prior to that, I was the vice president of administration at Perry's Ice Cream. And before that, really began my career as a HR professional. So a little bit that, I guess, enough about me in terms of our business. We are a office developer and landlord of innovative office space. We operate and have properties in Buffalo, New York, Rochester, Denver, Colorado, Austin, Texas, Dallas, the Dallas, Texas area as well. And been in a family-owned business. A little bit of a jewel in Western New York that not a lot of people know about, but a pretty successful family business that really originated back in 1982, and the model has grown successfully every year since inception, and pretty proud of what we have. And our business serves all their small businesses. Most of our tenants are average around 1,800 square feet. Not a lot of tenants or customers beyond 5,000-6,000. It's not where our sweet spot is. So we tend to think of ourselves as pretty much somewhat experts in what's happening in small businesses in America. Small sampling, of course, but we have about 670 customers. So we have a pretty good idea what's going on out there with small professional businesses like dentists, doctors, financial planners, insurance agencies, accountants, stuff like that. All small little shops. But that's who we serve.
Excellent. Thank you. Pre-corona, how many employees did North Forest Office Space have, and did you have to make any adjustments since then?
Sure. Yeah, we have about 50 employees. We probably peaked around 48, 49, maybe 50 pre-corona, as we were. Our mission has been to really scale the company, and we're about to embark on another market in Fort Worth, and based on the virus and the pandemic and all the financial uncertainty that it's created, we did pull back and put a lot of things on hold just to assess. We're a heavily capital business, and we just couldn't take that chance of putting a whole bunch of capital out there at risk. So as a result, we kind of pulled back, assessed some of our construction and development, and some of our talented construction team members. We just said, look, we don't expect to be in the construction development business for quite some time. So unfortunately, we had to make the agonizing decision of letting a few people go a couple of weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that must have been hard. I know you guys are a very tight-knit group. You follow your values, and I'm sure that must have been very difficult, especially with all the growth and scaling that you've done.
Key team members we loved and that made a difference, really brought us to that next level. And but they were focused heavily on construction. Also, a few of our corporate operation folks also were impacted, but they were also part of the support of the development business. So nothing would make us happier in terms of being able to get them back once we get some clarity on when would we move from suspending our development and construction business to restarting that. But as we told them, we just don't know, and they were all good. Hopefully we treated them well enough, and they tend to understand, like, hey, no one can see the future. We understand that, So it was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Still
Now,
is.
number of tenants. What the total number of tenants that you have? How many do you have about?
About 670.
And that's 670 small businesses, essentially.
Pretty much. There might be a few national customers that rent, satellite type office, but by and large, most of them are all small business owners.
So like you said, you kind of get at least a little taste of what's really going on in the small business world. So what is going on, do you think?
Many of them, one of the challenges, first, many of them are not well capitalized. As you can imagine, they're running, tight operations, and, they have, living, month to month and paying their bills. Not all of them. So they're fighting for their livelihood. And we see that we are engaged with, I would say, probably a third of them, just through the last months as they were, interacting with us, and we're seeing signs of them just fighting every day to keep their business going, because that's their livelihood. That's how they make money and put food on their table and pay their mortgages and stuff like that. So there's a lot of resiliency, but they need to get back to work. They need revenue. They need to be able to, because many of them are customer facing type businesses, dentists or doctors, and you name it, that they need that customer interaction. So they're working hard trying to find the money through the government programs. Some are frustrated because they're not, they're running up against dead ends. Now that it looks like the next phase has been refunded in terms of the stimulus, the PPP. The PPP. Yeah. So there's hope, hopefully, for them that where they got boxed out, that they'll be able to get that. And I don't get the impression that these are folks that are taking that money and putting in their pocket. They're taking their money and trying to keep their business going because they want to be able to make a living when this, at least returns to a new normal. So it's pretty impressive seeing that. And that's a sample of, 30% right now of our customers. But I would say it's pretty representative that they're all doing the same thing, really fighting hard to keep things going.
Yeah. Thank you. You had mentioned the 30%. So when April rolled around and essentially the rent was due, are you saying that 30% in some form were struggling with paying the rent?
No, just more or less communicating with us in terms of, and every situation is a little bit different, but engaged in talking to us, and us trying to understand where they're at. And obviously we have financial obligations too, and it's not easy on them. It's not easy on us by any means. Yeah. Not a fun spot for anybody to be in. But we see, most important for us, we see them. They're out there fighting, which says, hey, that's a sign that they're not just closing their shop and folding their hand, folding their cards, and they're out there, which would suggest hopefully they get through that will remain a customer of ours, hopefully in the long term.
Yeah. So from that group of 670, do you have any idea the percentage that might have taking advantage of PPP, and I'm sure you're probably glad that there is that out there, because that certainly would help someone like North Forest.
No, it's a good question, but I don't know the answer. But part of our engagement process with our customers is asking those questions. So, but that's just information that's still kind of flowing through, and some are in the, hey, I did receive it, I want to pay. I'm looking to, again, I want to get my rent paid. Some are, I'm still waiting, I'm still fighting, but I don't have that number yet. But it's more than a handful, I know that. But that is data that we'll have in the weeks ahead, probably, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of that, May is not that far away. What do you think is the expectation there?
Yeah, that May is going to be tough because so many of them were shut down in the months of April. Certainly in New York State, as non-essential businesses, and in Texas and Colorado, they had very similar stay-home type mandates. So in March, many businesses were operating to a certain extent. They may have got cut off in mid-March. So it's just a different animal that we're bracing ourselves for, given that many of them had their doors. You could drive by in the office parks and see the signs on the door. Due to COVID-19, our office is closed.
Yeah.
And so we, we're bracing ourselves for a little tougher. Tougher response, or I guess a different, it may not be indicative, but to what April was.
Yeah, got it.
And that's, I'm sure, across America.
For sure.
Retailers and restaurants and all those things that got cut off at mid month in March.
Yeah. So how are you handling the customers that are not paying during the Corona crisis?
Well, we love the ones that are talking to us, and there's plenty of those. There are other really businesses as well that are, hey, they're paying the rents, and because they're just doing their normal thing, and we really are thankful to them, and then we've developed a way to scale to interact with our customers through we created a customer engagement team, basically, with the idea that we're going to have to really triage this as much as possible and collect information and data so we can assess what our position is in terms of with our financial institutions and stuff. So it's pretty neat that we've been able to do that, because it's not easy interacting with 660 670 customers, you can imagine.
Right.
But I don't want to give you the impression too that we're having conversations with every one of them, because that's not the case. But that may increase next month based on because of what happened in April, Tony.
So the advice that you're giving there is that you prefer to work, even if a customer can't pay, you prefer somebody to at least communicate with you. Yeah,
communication is key, and you'll always hear that, whether you're dealing with your own financial institutions, and is right, talking to us, and because an engaged customer is a lot easier to work with than someone we're trying to track down and that isn't responding to phone calls. We want them to survive. We want them to get through this as well. We are partners in that. So that is, our interests are the same in terms of, we want them to survive. They want us to survive, kind of, and we provide a really good environment for small businesses to thrive. And so, it's always easier to keep a customer than to find a new one, and maybe as well as less expensive too.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You said you were hired during the last recession, and it appears that we're going to be moving into a recession. And clearly, this is not going to be any normal recession. It's post-Corona. What kind of changes are you expecting, or do you see already in the commercial real estate market?
Yeah, that it's I can speculate as much in terms of what matters now to people. I think is safety, right? And is there a place where they're going to work? Is it sanitized? Is it am I opening myself up to more exposure in an office setting? And so I think that's going to weigh on people. And we're positioned to take advantage of that for sure, because all of our offices are private entrances and private bathrooms, private kitchenettes. You're not sharing any common area space, so you're only sharing it with the people that you know and work with, which is pretty cool. But that's just that's a speculation from the safety side or the human side of getting back to work and trying to reduce that anxiety that people may have of being fearful of returning back to work.
Mm.
In terms of how the entrepreneurial spirit will take over, in terms of how they deliver office space, that's still to be written, I think. As companies adjust, do they need much? There's people, obviously, many people working from home now. How does that change, what people need in terms of offices? I think at some point people need to be, we're social human beings and need to be around others. But did that mean they need less office space and smaller satellite compared to large office space compared to COVID-19? I don't know. Things, that still has to be written, I think, and a lot has to do with, I think, how long does it take to return to some normal? Is our vaccines going to solve this, or are there future mutations of this virus that affects it? And the anxiety and the uncertainty lasts for months and years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you were about to move into a new city.
Yeah.
And obviously this had, if not slowed it down, perhaps stopped it.
Yeah.
Any idea, like how long are you going to go to understand what the new normal is before you would even make a decision to grow again?
To start growing again? Yeah, I think a lot comes down to just the data, right? At the end of the day, what are we doing? How's our vacancy or occupancy on the positive side? How's our customer base? How's prospects? We have all this information of we'll be able to look at post COVID-19, pre-COVID-19. How does that look? How's the comparison and models to predict future activity? So it's all going to be driven by the data. As not only our internal data, but what's the economic data that we're seeing out there, and we'll let that dictate to when would we start up again. What we shared with our employees, we just don't know, but we're going to let the information drive that. And we'll try to influence that data as much as we can on our side, but we'll certainly pay attention to the economic data and what's happening in not only the world, but obviously the U.S. economy. We're glad to be in places like Texas too, because it was growing so fast. So maybe, and they haven't been as impacted by the virus compared to like New York, New York State. So they may rebound faster too, and that gives us hope. But we have to sit and assess and use information to draw hypotheses and challenge those hypotheses to come up with decisions that we think will benefit us going forward.
Very good, very good. Now we're all quarantined in our homes. Who are you with? Who are you spending your time with?
In quarantine?
Yes.
Well, I've been working out of the home. When it first happened, I was pretty much like 4 out of 5 days, and I've been slowly moving back to the office. But we're still, most of our team, our corporate team, is still working from home. So my interactions are just with a few in our office. But from home, it's my wife. Same thing. She is at home working every day, and we're bumping off into each other with printers and stuff like that in the office. And then, of course, my two kids that are in college, but same thing, just being mindful of keeping mom and dad healthy and not exposing themselves any ways that increases our risk. So they've been pretty good of staying quarantined as well. Not easy for young adults to do that.
No doubt.
For this amount of time.
And everybody's staying sane.
Everyone's staying
getting along.
Yeah, try. Yeah, we have a couple of blowouts now and
then. I think we all have. With your spare time, what are you doing? What are you watching?
Oh, geez. I have no spare time. It seems like my day doesn't end. It starts at 7:30 and it stops for dinner and goes back to work. And then when I do try to unwind, I'll watch some Netflix. So I've been jumping on. I've been watching. First, my series was Narcos,
Yeah,
which was
that's
I think
good.
that was produced a couple of years ago. But I caught through all those series. And I've been watching Ozark
Nice.
on Netflix, and so that's my downtime of just jumping, watch an episode. I'm on the treadmill or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Both good shows too.
Yeah, I know. Those are all recommendations from others, and I'm like, hey, those are good recommendations.
Dave, if people want to learn more about North Forest Office Space, where do they go?
Enforce.com. They'll be able to right to our website, and they'll see what's available. They can basically take a look at floor plans, get an idea what the price is, all at their fingertips. And we're working close now in this post-pandemic world of contactless like type leasing, where they can do virtual tours, sign a lease, all those things without really having to interact, but get all the information that they need, and do it at their own pace and their own convenience.
Fantastic. Dave Merrell, president of North Forest Office Space. Dave, thanks again for coming in, and hope you and your family stay safe.
Thanks, Tony. You too, my friend.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too.